I've been working for Disney, and I've got some stories to tell, by Beifel's Disciple. Did you know there's a second hidden Disneyland beneath the real one? In the early years of the park, old Walt himself decided he didn't like the characters travelling through themed areas where they didn't belong. He said it broke the immersion, so he had an entire complex built beneath the Magic Kingdom. It mirrored every street, every ride, and every land above it. The arrangement was designed to enable masked men to sneak around so well that your children never noticed, leaving you happy to foot the bill. Disney works very hard to keep its secrets. Here's another fun fact. Every cast member has to be on stage whenever they're in potential sight of park guests, even the janitors. That's where I come in. For the past 20 years, I've been cleaning up every type of mess that the park visitors have the ability to make. If you come off the teacups and paint the ground with the clam chowder you just ate at Royal Street Veranda, I'll be there. It's my job to whisk away the spunk with the precision of a diligent surgeon. It's a lot easier than you think, given the fact that we've been watching you from the very moment your tumbler got rumbly. There are cameras on you from the moment you're shepherded into the parking spot in the morning, and until the tram drops you off after the fireworks at night. Things are fine if you know your place. I learned that pretty quickly. The first lesson sticks out in my mind. I'd been on the job 1 year, 7 months and 13 days, when a distraught looking couple came to me and asked where they should go to inquire about a missing child. I was in the zone immediately, leading them straight to the office on Main Street while explaining how park employees would have their daughter escorted through the underground passages directly into their waiting arms. Upon arriving at the office, I opened the door, turned around and led them inside, and then turned back. They were gone. I was searching furiously for them when the head of security emerged, looking grim. I had gotten maybe 3 words out when he cut me off. "Everything is fine," said. "The parents have been reunited with their son." "It was a daughter." "That's right, their daughter. Why don't you take some time off? A week's paid vacation will give you enough time to visit Orlando. Did you know that park associates are entitled to complimentary park tickets and travel reimbursements?" "But it could be much longer than a week," said. He grumbled with a note of very grave finality. I took the plane tickets, but went to the beach instead. I did very well for myself in the ensuing years. I cleaned things up, and I didn't question why our electric meters would occasionally record 10,000 megawatt hours used between closing at night and opening the next morning. There was no reason to ask why a dozen staff members frequently spent the night furiously cooking food that none of the night staff ever ate. I never inquired about why there was a yellow door in the passageway under Adventureland, or why I got vertigo every time I drove by it. And no one ever questioned the firm policy of distraught families that had been separated. Get them out of sight, it breaks immersion. That reason was always good enough for me. But the strangest thing ever to happen was just a couple of weeks ago. I was in the underground Disneyland, spending my break by trying to forget the poopy accident I had to fix in the Alice in Wonderland ride. A costumed Mickey Mouse came into the lounge, looked at me, then sat on the opposite couch with his legs crossed. I smiled, nodded, and tried to zone out, which is hard to do when a cartoon mouse is staring at you. And why was he still a mouse? The first thing that I do upon stepping off stage is to drop my smile and let out a fart, and ease into relaxation mode. Why wouldn't someone take the first opportunity to take off a ridiculous mouse head? I stared back. He didn't move, and it wasn't pleasant. I wondered if he was stuck in the damn thing, and obsessively started looking for seams in the costume, but I couldn't find any. My blood dropped a few degrees while my stomach turned over like a beached whale, as I realised there was no openings in the costume. I mean, what the hell? Was this guy so directly into the outfit? Was the illusion that good? Could my very dull imagination actually have conjured up the belief in magic? And why was he just staring at me? That's weird as hell. Even without the fused cartoon mouse skin suit, there was no getting around the fact that this person was an odd duck who wore the facts like a badge of honour. Then it blinked. I don't mean the man inside the costume blinked. I mean those massive, giant mouse eyes rolled over to me, locked onto my face, and the anthropomorphic cartoon rodent blinked its goddamn eyes. We were alone in the room, and I was about ready to leave a bigger poop stain than that loose-mouthed boy on the Alice ride. I opted, however, to turn and run into the hallway instead. I got a sudden burst of adrenaline-fueled energy when I heard a rapid-fire footsteps behind me. I tried to outrun the thing, but my football glory days are a quarter of a century in the past, so that didn't work out very well. I think I made it about 300 yards before my burning lungs forced me to roll onto the ground and await my own untimely demise at the gloved hands of a mouse. But he didn't kill me. Through my blurred vision and desperate gasps, I was barely able to make out a very man-sized shape standing above. It was the head of security. He looked furious. Next to him was a man who looked vaguely familiar. He was tall, pale, and dressed in a grey suit with a fedora. It did not look like he'd been running us all. "Well, Sid," the head of security casually shouted, clearly less winded than I was. "How about we send you to Europe for this vacation? I'm in Italy now. A few days ago, I started reading about other people who were coming out online about their Disney experiences. I stopped being able to accept the denial that I had worked so hard to maintain. I also noticed that a lot of other people on my tour had connections to Disney, despite the fact we had never met before, and were not part of the Disney-sanctioned tour. It seemed that we'd been gathered together on purpose, but someone clearly didn't want us to know what that purpose might be. It was a very odd situation at best, so I did exactly what I'd been taught to do. I separated myself from the situation, and that's the best way to keep things clean. I didn't show up for the day trip to Genoa, and in doing so, I stayed away from the bridge collapse a few days back that killed everyone else in my tour group. I'm the only one left to tell my story, and that story will end with me making it very, very clear that I won't be going back home. I think I'll be much safer living anonymously in Europe. Disneyland is hiding something big, and their greatest strength is making you believe the magic isn't real.